3 record companies looked at her and said no, so she promised, "My voice will be heard, with or without you." Have you ever felt like your soul is screaming but the whole world pretends not to hear? Have you ever been there, holding back your own tears in silence while yet another door closes in your face, not because of a lack of talent but because of an excess of courage? What about when you believe in something with every ounce of your being, but it seems like only you see it? She felt it too. In the beginning there was no stage, no audience, no contract. He only had his own voice, and the silence after the no's. 3 record labels. 3 rejections. 3 times being treated like it wasn't enough. And it wasn't just professional, it was as if they were telling herself, "You're not the type to shine. You're not the selling type. You're not the type to win." And every no seemed to confirm everything she secretly feared, that maybe it was true. That maybe she really was just another person trying to be heard in a world that prefers to repeat the same faces, the same formulas, the same predictable successes. But what no one saw was what was happening inside. Because every rejection didn't kill the will. She dug deeper. Every time someone doubted, she whispered to herself, "I will continue. Even without an audience. Even without a contract. Even if it hurts." She cried in secret. But it never stopped. I felt ashamed of failing again, of hearing yet another no. But between fear and giving up, she chose to remain afraid. Because somewhere between tiredness and faith, she made an invisible promise. No one will silence my voice anymore. This story is not about fame. It's about resistance. It's about that feeling of being invisible, disposable, forgettable. And yet, carry on. Not because they said it would work, but because she knew deep down that she had already given. It just wasn't visible yet. And maybe that's why you're here. Because deep down you also feel this, that there is something inside you that has not yet been heard. That you have something unique, even if the world doesn't recognize it yet. That there is a revolution happening inside, silent, invisible, but real. And if this story sounds like yours, then this video is for you. Right here in the comments, "They've tried to silence me but I'm still here." Let this phrase be your flag. Watch this video until the end, because maybe, like her, you're just an invisible decision away from your own stage. And if this message has already touched you, leave a like now. Subscribe to the channel. We won't stop telling stories that activate what's dormant inside. Because your turnaround can start today. She was just a girl trying to turn pain into song. Young, full of faith, moving from gospel to pop, thinking that it was enough to have talent, soul, and a voice firm enough to break through the walls of the world. But the world doesn't listen to the soul. The world hears number. She records her first album with everything she has. Give your heart in every note. And what do you get back? Silence. Cold. A torn contract. The record company cancels the release like canceling a pizza order. No warning. No explanation. As if that wasn't her life. She cries alone on the floor of a room that isn't even hers. Because now he's living in favor with no money to even pay for his own dream. But he still believes. Still insists. Second attempt. She wears another name, another style, another chance. Rejected. They say they lack presence, that they don't know how to sell it. As if her soul were a defective product. Third record label. A new yes that doesn't last long. Another signed contract. Another promise made. And once again torn. Discarded. Nobody cares how she sings. Nobody cares what she writes. What they want is image. It's vibe. And it doesn't fit. It's too much to fit. It's not enough to explode. She is everything that doesn't fit into a formula. The days pass slowly, dreams sink. She starts selling clothes. Used thing. Borrowed thing. In the trunk of her friend's car. Stuff the cloths in the bags as if hiding their own pain. Like someone trying to pretend that this is just a phase, just a bend in the road. But deep down, she no longer knows if there is a way. Feel ashamed to show up. Shame on trying again. I'm ashamed to even say that I sing. Because now, every time someone asks, "What about your career?" their throat closes. The answer doesn't come. Only silence comes, and that feeling that you are publicly failing. She sees friends growing up. You see people who didn't even dream of singing signing with record companies that said no to them. She sees magazine covers with faces that years ago asked her to write songs for them. And she just thinks, am I the problem? You start to hide. From parties. From the invitations. From the music itself. Stay still, keep quiet. Just listen. Just watch. Hearing the world continue as if nothing had happened. While inside her everything is falling apart. In the bedroom now. Ask for a sign. An answer. Anything you say, it's still worth it. But nothing comes. The bills arrive. Hope goes. The songs she wrote to inspire the world now only serve to remind her how broken she herself is. She lies in bed and cannot sleep. Because even with your eyes closed, you see the missed opportunities, the shows that never happened, the applause that never came. And you feel that cruel silence that comes after you're no good. There, alone, she wonders if this is it. It's over. If it already has. If I should give up altogether. But she doesn't give up. Not yet. Because inside it there is still something. Something the world doesn't see. Yet. In the midst of the silence, she hears something. It's not a voice, it's not an answer, it's not a miracle. It's just a nuisance. A shiver. A restlessness that begins slowly, as if the soul itself is tired of asking for permission. It's night. Another ordinary night. Another empty night. The city lights flickering outside, cold, oblivious. And there she was, with her knees drawn up to her chest, hugged by herself. Nobody called. Nobody asked. The world sleeps peacefully while she fights her own ghosts. But tonight is different. She takes out an old notebook which she had almost forgotten about. Leaves stained with dried tears and loose notes of songs that never left the paper. There at the bottom, a blank space. Like a silent invitation. She takes out a pen. Don't know why. He just feels like he needs to write something, anything. But he doesn't write music. Write a promise. Slow, painful, intimate. A simple sentence, but loaded with everything. My voice does not depend on permission. Close the notebook tightly. As if that sealed something that not even she herself fully understands. Don't cry. Don't smile. But he feels a different weight in his chest. A slight heat. Almost imperceptible. As if he had found a crack in the darkness. Small but enough to let light through. And it is there, without anyone seeing, that everything changes. She gets out of bed and walks to the mirror. The eyes are sunken. Tired skin. But there's something there. In the eyes. A firmness. Not arrogance. Not illusion. Just decision. The decision that makes no noise. That doesn't appear in a post. That doesn't get likes. But it turns everything inside. She takes a deep breath. For the first time in a long time, he feels like he's breathing by choice, not by obligation. You won't wait any longer. You won't ask again. If they don't want to record, she records herself. If they don't want to hear it, she sings anyway. If no one sees, she sings until someone sees. Because there, in that room with no one, no camera, no contract, a new version of her was born. And no one applauded. But that's where she won. It no longer needs to be accepted. She chose herself. And that's what most people don't understand. That before the turning point that the world sees, comes the decision that no one notices. Invisible. Silent. But undeniable. She is no longer the same. And you, maybe not either. If this part of the story has ever made you feel something inside, that feeling that you too are about to change even if no one sees, then this channel is for you. Sign up now. Here we tell stories that activate what is dormant. Here no one waits for applause to decide. Here the turnaround starts from within. And hers has just started. She didn't warn anyone. There was no press conference. Didn't post text. It just launched. The way it was. As much as I could. Without the endorsement of a record label, without the luxury of a giant team behind it. Just her, the music, and the decision she had made in the silence of the room. I Kissed a Girl arrived like someone who doesn't ask for permission. A sweet punch in the face of the system. A very bold song for those who thought she was just another gospel girl. A lyric that challenged, that broke, that shook. And the world listened. The music became a topic. It broke out without needing to knock on any door. He won the world before even gaining a second chance from those who said no. And suddenly she, who until yesterday was selling clothes out of her trunk, was on the cover of a magazine. Not as a supporting character, but as a protagonist. These were weeks that seemed like a whirlwind. Every TV show that called her, every interview, every invitation to awards, it was as if the universe was finally giving back everything it took from her years before. But the shine didn't just come from the spotlight. It came from the contrast. Before, 3 record companies turning their backs. Now, the whole world turning its face towards her. Before, you have no commercial appeal. Now, #1 hits on the charts in more than 20 countries. Before, no one will hear this. Now, billions of views, awards, world tours, Grammys, Billboard, MTV. She became one of the most listened to artists of the decade. She steps onto stages that previously seemed unreachable. And when he sings, it's not just his voice that echoes. That's all she's survived so far. Each no becomes part of the melody. Every fall becomes part of the show. And every person who once made her doubt herself, now watches in silence. She doesn't forget. Because her success was not born from a chance offered. It was born from a created chance. Alone. In the dark. No audience. And maybe that's what makes everything shine so much now. Because none of that was given. It has been decided. Back there. The moment she said, "My voice does not depend on permission." The same woman who was once called hard to sell, is now a brand. It's an icon. It's a reference. And not because he molded himself to the system, but because he forced the system to see. What was once rejection became a revolution. What was once shame became courage. And what was once invisible, is now immortal. All of this started that silent night. When no one saw. When no one believed. When even she wasn't sure, but still, she decided to continue. And that's what most people forget. What we see now, started where no one looked. And if you're here, still watching, maybe it's because you also feel like there's an invisible turning point being born inside. Stay with me. The story isn't over yet. How many times have they tried to silence your voice? Maybe not saying it directly, but with looks, with contempt, with that silence that hurts more than any scream. Maybe they ignored you in meetings, at home, in friendships. Maybe you felt like you could explode with desire, ideas, dreams, but you didn't have the space for that. There was no one to listen. And worse, it seemed like no one cared. And then comes that uncomfortable question. Am I the problem? Am I dreaming too much? Am I insisting on a path that is not for me? But let me ask you something. If you feel this so strongly inside you, why are you still trying to convince others before convincing yourself? Why are you still waiting for the right moment, the right permission, the right yes, from someone who doesn't even know the weight that all of this carries for you? Maybe today you are in a place similar to the one she lived in. Alone, hidden, pretending that everything is fine, pretending that you forgot that old dream. Pretending that he has matured, when in reality he has only learned to suffocate. But what if this suffocation is just a sign that it's time to start breathing the way you want again? What if this squeeze is the last push before anything starts to change? I don't know how you feel right now, but if there's something inside you screaming for change, this part of the video is yours. You still have time. You still have power. And even if everything around you says otherwise, the truth is that maybe you're just missing a decision. Invisible. Silent. Only yours. A sentence written on paper. A commitment to yourself. A gesture that the world won't see, but that will change everything inside. It doesn't have to be grand. You don't need to have witnesses. But it needs to be real. Think calmly. Look at your story so far. How many times have you kept quiet so as not to disturb? How many times did you swallow your own pain to fit into places that didn't even want you there? How many songs, projects, ideas, books, businesses, versions of yours, have been shelved waiting for the best time? What if that time is now? What if you already have everything you need, and what's missing is just the courage to take the plunge? You don't need an audience to start. Katy didn't have it either. She started out broken, alone, with no one watching. And still, he decided to continue. And you? What will be your invisible decision? Write a sentence here in the comments that represents this commitment to yourself. It can be simple. It may be symbolic. It could be your truth written in words. But write. Because sometimes what's needed to turn the key is just saying out loud what you've been keeping quiet about for too long. Now tell me, are you going to hide because of those who didn't see you? Or are you going to choose to be heard, even if no one is listening yet? The world only listens to those who decide not to remain silent. And maybe this story came to remind you of that. Comment below, what was the invisible decision you've already made, or that you feel you need to make now? If this video awakened something inside, if it reminded you of the strength you carry even when the world doesn't see it, share it with someone who is also in this silent fight. Sometimes all a person needs to not give up is a story that mirrors theirs. Leave your like now if this really touched your heart. Subscribe to the channel because this is where the stories that no one told get a voice. Here, every turn begins in the dark, but ends in light. And in the next episode, you'll meet a woman who was rejected by 12 publishers. They called his books too childish, too fanciful, too improbable. But she wrote it anyway, and created a universe that enchanted generations. Spoiler, her rejection letter became a victory frame. Wait and see.